To our professor, Ma'am Hanapi Abdul Malik, and to my co-researchers, a blessed day to all of us. I am Isim Bashir, your defender at this moment, of the research entitled Public's Opinion on Death Penalty, assessing a larger range of citizens' view towards the capital punishment. A life for a life has been one of the most basic concepts for dealing with crimes since the start of recorded history. As tribal societies developed into social classes and humankind created its own self-governed republics, capital punishment became a common response to a variety of crimes, including sexual assault, treason, and various military offenses. One of the earliest written documents that supported the death penalty was the Code of Hammurabi, which was written on stone tablets around 760 before Christ. It contained 282 laws that were collected by the Babylonian king Hammurabi. Early forms of capital punishment were designed to be slow, painful, and torturous. In some ancient cultures, lawbreakers were put to death by stoning, crucifixion, being burned at the stake, and even slowly being crushed by elephants. Later societies found these methods to be cruel and unusual forms of punishment, and sought out more human practices. During 18th and 19th centuries, legal bodies found faster and less painful approaches to the death penalty, including hanging and beheading with the guillotine. While these were still violent and bloody practices that were often large public spectacles, the end result was usually instantaneous and therefore seen as more compassionate. Thomas Edison introduced the electric chair to accomplish this goal. This goal is in 1970s, which is the lethal injections of the fluoride as another option. Statement of the problem. This study aims to answer the following questions. First is, how can death penalty achieve justice for victims? Second, what death penalty does for victims and their family engaged in as a justice? Third, what are the advantages and disadvantages of death penalty to the people? And lastly, what are the percentage of people who agree or disagree to have death penalty?
The deterrence theory states that people don't commit crimes because they are afraid of getting caught instead of being motivated by some deep moral sense. People don't commit crimes because they are afraid of getting caught. That is why the law exists. But even though there is the law, there are still crimes. Why? It is because some crime makers think of the punishment as a mere imprisonment. Inside the jail, they are still intact, alive, and even fed. Yet, that imprisonment doesn't change the fact that they committed a crime. That is why death penalty can be an effective threat to these kinds of people. People will not commit crimes anymore because they will be afraid of getting caught, of getting sentenced to death.
Conceptual framework. This study mainly focuses on the public's opinion on death penalty by measuring the numbers of those in favor or not, which contains 3 restriction counts, and that are the crimes that may be punishable by death, persons who cannot be sentenced to death, and procedures for imposition of the death sentence.
The significance of the study. This study will provide insights into public opinions about the death penalty issue. It will further discuss the purposes of existing a cruel judgment The results of the study will merit the following. First is the government. It will help our government to reconsider carrying out policies like death penalty in the future as an effective solution to reduce the growth of violent crimes. Second is the researchers. These findings will help the researchers to fully understand why such law is being implemented if some people are against it. And thus evaluating public support may serve as approbation of the capital punishment. And lastly, for the future researchers. This study will benefit other researcher who is interested about this topic to employ this study as a reference.
This study limits only to, first, the crimes that are punishable by death, the persons who cannot be sentenced to death, and the procedures on how the death penalty will be executed. Also, the answers and personal feelings of the respondents on a said topic are out of the researcher's control.
Definition of terms: capital punishment or death penalty. The execution for capital offenses carried out by hanging, shooting, lethal injection, stoning, electrocution, and gassing. Lethal injection, the way of executing someone by injecting deadly substances. Stoning or lapidation, the way of executing someone by throwing stone. Electrocution, the way of executing someone from electric shock. Gassing, the way of executing someone from poisonous gas. Public execution, the act of performing the execution in public. Capital crimes, capital offenses, or capital felonies. It refers to those crimes punishable by death. Genocide, the act of killing a large group of people because of their ethnicity, nationality, religion, or race. Espionage, the act of secretly obtaining political or military information. Sedition, the act of making people rebel against lawful authority or monarch. Piracy, the act of stealing cargo and other valuable goods. Hijacking, the act of unlawfully seizing an aircraft, vehicle, or ship while in transit. Recidivism, it is when convicted criminal repeats a similar offense. Juvenile offenders, it refers to young lawbreakers aged 16 to 22 adult.
Now let us move on to research design and methodology. This chapter presents the research design, locale of the study, respondents of the study, instrumentation, sampling technique, data gathering analysis procedure, and statistical tools to be used. So first is the research design. This study used survey research method to pull in such profound and diverse feedback from respondents about the death penalty. This study, of course, is a qualitative research. So survey research is defined as the collection of information from a sample of individuals through their responses to questions by Check and Scott on 2012. In order to piece together the desired data, the researchers used survey questionnaires that will answer and satisfy curiosity about the death penalty.
The respondents of the study are 100 people from Marawi and are random since the respondents are only those who answered in their convenience.
Locale of the study. This study was conducted at Mindanao State University main campus that is located at Marawi City, Philippines.
Research instrument. To gather necessary data, the researchers used closed-ended survey questionnaire in Google form. There are two parts of questionnaire made by the researchers. The first part deals with the demographic profile of the respondents in terms of age and sex, and the second part is composed of 10 questions based on International Federation on Human Rights. The questions were addressed to respondents regarding the involvement of the public's opinion on the death penalty.
The researchers formulated a set of questions and created a Google form. Then the link of the said form was distributed digitally There, they can click and then answer the questions. The responses were then tabulated by the researchers.
Statistical tools. The tools used are frequency and percentage distribution for the percent profile of the respondents. It will be computed after determining the frequencies. The formula is percentage is equals to frequency divided by the numbers of respondents. Weighted mean for determining the public's opinion on death penalty. The formula is the weighted mean is equals to the summation of the product of frequency and the weight divided by the number of the respondents. Ranking method for the arrangement of the frequency distribution in a series according to magnitude from highest to lowest or lowest to highest. That's all, and thank you.